Greetings, salutations. Unfortunately for you, I'm back with another video. This one is more of an answer to a question that was asked in the Christian Dungeons and Dragons group um, about because I posted a couple pictures of like some hex maps and stuff that I'm working on, and I guess this comes about from the fact that they're likely a 5e player. That seems to be the bulk of the majority of the membership in that group, and it's a good question. I mean, because I get it. I played in the Lost Mines of Phandelver myself, and there was an overland map, but it wasn't a hex map. So what's the purpose of hex maps? Well, honestly, they kind of help to judge distance between different spots. That is kind of the more practical side in terms of being a GM, but really, honestly, what helps them the most, this is probably going to be a short video because it's a pretty easy answer, easy question to answer. But this hobby was born back from wargaming, and there was the whole wilderness adventure thing put out by TSR, and a lot of those war games also used hex maps, and uh, again, they were used as a way to judge distance, but they were also a way to put pieces on the board, usually like some kind of army miniatures or war machine miniatures, something to that effect, and really kind of hold your place. They also, I find myself and Brian, who is in one of my gaming groups, he'll agree with me because he does the same thing. They kind of help with coming up with routes for rivers. He likes to use the lines of the hex as a guide for his rivers, so that like the stream will go this way, and then like once it hits that intersection from one hex to the other, he'll probably split it there so that you have this branching stream going off in this direction while the other one is continuing on its course to a lake or to an ocean or whatever, you know. So, and it's not a bad idea. I often find them very handy when it comes to drawing things like elevation, because not all of my maps use your basic icons like trees for forests and the triangles for mountains and stuff like that. A lot of mine use topography, so I like to kind of freehand the topography. Like this will be a hill. I might like darken it in color, or if it's a black and white, I'll use to indicate a hill. I'll use those lines coming out from that semicircle shape. Um, Honestly, it's not a requirement in this hobby to know how to use or read a hex map. Just realize that a lot of gaming materials, especially if you're looking to become a GM, utilize hex maps, and honestly, they're an easy tool. Uh, Typically, your hex maps are going to equal about 6 miles, but that can vary. For example, the map of Karamikios. Um, I think it has 24, and I think it has 8. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So we're going to talk about two different things that kind of connect to Karamikos. Um, so this is X1. This is a reprint by Drive Through RPG, and it has the Isle. This is the Isle of Dread, of course. This is X1. Um, each this is what I'm talking about. Each hex in this map equals 6 feet. And I'm sorry, I just had to look at the squares because the squares, like, you have different keys for it. Like that, they can equal whatever you want. It's all about scale and interpreting that scale for people to understand. This is also the rule cyclopedia, and this is also a reprint. If you are, if you possess a copy of this, you know that the known world is in the back. Uh, each. This is Karamikos. The Isle of Dread is in this map too. At the bottom of that page, each hex equals 24 miles on this, and then when you get to let me find. Okay, so the Grand Duchy. I want to say that each of these are also 24 miles, but it's much more zoomed in. So this is probably likely 8 miles. I forget. Um, it probably tells you on the page preceding. But anyway, they're there to kind of help indicate scale. It's the easiest way to explain it. They can also help with, of course, like with all movement, they can help with tracking time. Most game systems tell you how many miles a player character can move in a day, depending on the weight, the level of encumbrance, and their strength score, that kind of thing, and how many miles they can move in a day. And it's the same with like cart horses and stuff like that, beasts of burden that the player characters will be likely taking with them, because every party eventually gets horses or ponies or something. So, how many miles can that horse go in a day? And so it's an easy way to tell time, because, like, if you have, let's say, for brevity, typically most game rule systems usually rule that a character can move about 12 miles unencumbered. So let's just say um, you have a 6 mile hex. That means that within the 24 hours, your player character can move 2 hexes. Uh, there's a chance of encounters happening out in the wilderness. There is a chance of bumping it, especially if you're running a hex crawl, bumping into like an adventuring site or a site of interest of some kind, like an unmarked grave or something. This all comes about from wilderness play, how to run it, and one of these days I might cover that, because that's probably a topic that I don't really remember covering a whole lot. Generally speaking, when it comes to overland travel, it's not imperative that you have this big map of your world, and it's not imperative that you have this. Honestly, you don't even really need the hexes when you're starting out. A very good example would be just to take just a regular grid, like square grid page, and draw the immediate area around the starting town and putting adventuring sites there, kind of like what B2 does. Uh, Uno momento. So again, another reprint, not an original, but you know, just with a standard grid, you can have the starting town, the areas of interest around it. Here's the Caves of Chaos up here, and it doesn't measure anything in miles. It measures things in yards. Um, 1 square equals 100 yards. So, and it would cover what the characters could encounter if they strayed off the road. There were different adventuring sites. And one of the cool things, I think, because if you want to dip your toes into wilderness trekking without relying on the hex map quite yet, because your party is such a low level, because B2 is made for levels 1 through 3. So it's unlikely you're going to be running the Isle of Dread for a level 1 party, okay? You will be running B2 instead, let's say, especially if you're planning on running in Karamikos. But anyways, or anything to do with Mistar, really. The thing I like is that there's not a random encounter on every square. So it would only happen if characters, I think, were camping overnight near a particular number. Like, so this is a good way to kind of dip your toes into overland travel without really worrying about miles and hexes and stuff like that. Let's see here. Let me find the. I'm going to pause just so you're not waiting on me. Okay, I finally found it. I mean, God bless Gary Gygax, but he didn't exactly lay everything out super clean on this. But it's on page 12. And it talks about camping outdoors overnight. Nothing will bother the party when camped outdoors unless they're within 6 squares, so 600 yards, because each square equals 100 yards. 6 squares of a numbered encountered area. So you have the Mound of Lizard Men, you have the Raider Camp, a Spider's Lair, the Mad Hermit, that kind of thing. There's a 1 in 6 chance that the monsters there will seek them. So at 6 squares, there's a 1 in 6 chance. At 5, there's a 2 in 6. At 4, there's a 3 in 6. At 3, there's a 4 in 6. At 2 is a 5 in 6, and 1 square is an automatic encounter. So treat it like a normal encounter, though, aside from the whole within 6 squares thing. It's basically also trying to ease you into having like people keeping watch overnight, because it talks about how organized parties should post at least one guard in shifts throughout the night. If there are no guards, monsters will surprise automatically as the party was sleeping and unaware. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, that's an easy way. So, I mean, B2 comes back to show its relevancy even today. It's a good, so it has a good example of like how to ease a GM into overland travel, but you don't want to have this huge scale yet. Like, you don't want to have like a 6 mile hex. You just want like your starting area. Here's a dungeon. Here's a couple little bits of interest around the area, etc., etc. So, but yeah, that's to answer your question. Hope that helps. As always, guys, take care. God bless, and I'll see you on the other side.